There's a story unfolding inside the automotive industry, and it sounds less like a product liability case and more like the opening chapter of a Cold War spy novel. Anyway, a powerful American technology company recruits a Russian hacker. He's not brought in to steal secrets, he's paid to find them. He searches through the company's systems for weaknesses, reports what he finds, and earns a little bit of money, up to $15,000 per problem through the company's bug bounty program. Anyway, years later, that same hacker appears on the opposite side of a courtroom battle. The knowledge that once made him valuable to Tesla is now being used by attorneys who are suing Tesla. You see, buried inside a damaged vehicle was a digital file that Tesla said it couldn't find. The hacker is known online as Green or Green the Only, and he was retained by the plaintiff attorney to examine the vehicle's autopilot computer. So that distinction matters because this is not a claim that he stole information from Tesla or betrayed a government. And while Tesla double-crossed by Russian hacker is a great headline, this show is not really about Tesla. But let's dive into the story for now. The crash occurred in Florida in April of 2019. A Tesla Model S operating with autopilot engaged traveled through the intersection and struck a parked Chevrolet Tahoe. One person was killed and another one was severely injured. The driver of the Tesla admitted at the time that he had looked down for a dropped phone. That was Tesla's central defense, was that the driver caused the problem, not exactly autopilot. The jury ultimately assigned most of the fault to the driver, but it did not assign all of it to him. In August of 2025, the jury held Tesla responsible for 33% of the compensatory damages and imposed $200 million in punitive damages. That means Tesla's total share owed was approximately $243 million. Now, that alone would make this case important, but what transformed it into something larger was how the case was won, the fight over some missing data. You see, the vehicle had recorded a collision snapshot, digital information showing what the cameras and autopilot system perceived before impact. For years, the plaintiffs were told the crucial data could not be located or recovered. But the plaintiffs' attorneys were just not satisfied with that answer. So they contacted Green. Based on his knowledge of Tesla's systems, Green reportedly concluded that Tesla's explanation did not make any technical sense. The vehicle had transmitted at least part of the crash package. It was Green's position that if the component of one of the packages had reached Tesla, the complete bundle should have been transmitted together. He also believed information that had been erased from the vehicle's autopilot computer could still be recovered. In October of 2024, Green examined the vehicle's data at a Florida Highway Patrol evidence facility. A former Secret Service cybersecurity specialist observed the extraction and helped document and authenticate the forensic process. After several hours, Green recovered the information. That recovered data reportedly included the vehicle's collision snapshot and video showing what the system detected as the Tesla approached the victims. Now, think about the power shift contained in that moment. The manufacturer said the record was unavailable. A specialist working for the plaintiffs found it inside the machine. Now, that is where this stops being only a Tesla story. The future of automotive litigation. This is it. For most of automotive history, a crash case was reconstructed from physical evidence. There were witness statements, the police report, skid marks, crush patterns, photographs, roadway measurements, and mechanical inspections. All of that still matters. I still do it today on cases. But modern vehicles now create another layer of evidence. Camera frames, radar inputs, steering commands, braking, accelerator position, driver monitor signals, software event logs, fault codes, over-the-air updates, and information stored remotely by the manufacturer. A modern vehicle is not one computer. It is a network of specialized electronic control modules, and each module may hold a different piece of the story. People often call this the vehicle's computer, but that phrase is just too simple for what it is. A modern vehicle does not have one main brain holding every answer. It has many specialized electronic control modules communicating across a network. One may manage the airbags, another an engine, and another the transmission. Others may manage braking, stability control, steering, cameras, radar, infotainment, navigation, telematics, and driver assist functions. Each may retain a different fragment of information. That means investigators are not always plugging into one port and downloading one complete timeline. They may search several modules, preserve physical hardware, direct extraction, compare clocks, and then match those records against cell phones, cloud systems, and other digital evidence. One module may show a shift into reverse, another may show a throttle input, and yet another may store a timestamp. The infotainment or navigation unit may contain location-related information, and telematics unit may have transmitted information to an OEM server. The forensic work is often about finding those multiple separate pieces, preserving them, authenticating them, and then determining whether they actually fit together like a puzzle. The vehicle is not one witness. It's a room full of witnesses, and they don't all remember the same things. And before anyone dismisses this as it's a Tesla or an electrical vehicle issue, consider what happened during the Karen Reed trial in Massachusetts. That case involved a 2021 Lexus LX 570, a conventional gasoline-powered SUV. Yet experts were not limited to a traditional airbag control module or a single event data recorder report. They examined Toyota tech stream information and other vehicle data that reflected ignition timing, engine speed, acceleration, gear selection, throttle use, and vehicle movement. The testimony also addressed the Lexus infotainment clock and the challenge of converting an internal running clock into real-world time. Prosecutors had also sought additional testing of the Lexus telematics systems because they believed important data may not have been acquired during an earlier chip-off extraction. Court filings described that system as potentially containing GPS location, speed, and vehicle status information. Then, the experts tried to align the Lexus timeline with John O'Keefe's cell phone data. The dispute was no longer simply how fast was the SUV traveling. It became when did the vehicle start, when did it shift, how far did it move, what did the throttle do, where might it have been, and how accurately could the internal clock be synchronized with the phone clock. The jury ultimately acquitted Karen Reed of a major homicide charge. Digital vehicle evidence does not automatically prove one side's theory. It can be incomplete, can be disputed, interpreted differently by experts, or undermined by other physical or forensic evidence. But the case still demonstrates the larger point. This level of vehicle forensics is not reserved for Tesla, and it's not reserved for EVs. And it has not limited to a single airbag module people casually refer to as the black box. Airbag and EDR, powertrain, transmission, ABS and stability control, gateway, infotainment, telematics, ADAS cameras, radar, and connected cell phones with OEM cloud servers. None of those systems was necessarily designed to become a courtroom witness, but attorneys, investigators, and experts can still use that data that is created by the vehicle. Tesla may be the headline because its vehicles are deeply connected and software driven. Tesla is not the exception. It is showing us earlier and more publicly where the rest of the automotive industry is heading. The question is no longer simply, what did the driver say happened? It becomes, which module recorded what? Was the clock accurate? Was the information preserved? Did another system record something different within the vehicle? What was transmitted off of the vehicle? And what data still exists after someone says it's all gone? That changes who attorneys need on their litigation teams. 20 years ago, attorneys built their major crash cases around accident reconstructionists, engineers, biomechanical experts, and physicians. Now they're adding software engineers, cybersecurity researchers, firmware analysts, digital forensic specialists, and artificial intelligence experts. The courtroom is becoming a technological laboratory, and the expert who can recover one deleted file may become more influential than the witness who gives 3 days of testimony. Now, let's add a second Tesla case. In June of this year, 2026, Tesla quietly resolved litigation arising from a fatal crash in 2023 that was full driving assist. The settlement prevented the case and proceedings from a public jury and trial. A settlement is not an admission that every allegation was true. Companies and plaintiffs settle cases for many reasons: cost, risk, uncertainty, privacy, and the possibility of a much larger verdict. But settlements also limit what the public gets to learn. There is no complete public trial record, no jury evaluating every fact, and often no public settlement amount. So when one case produces a $243 million verdict, where, by the way, the claimant had previously offered to settle for $60 million, when disputed, vehicle data is recovered and another fatal automated driving case resolves quietly before trial, the responsible question is just not to assume guilt. The responsible question is, how many consequential cases never reveal their evidence publicly? How many crashes involve vehicle data that families, repairers, insurers, or even attorneys do not even know exist? This is where the collision repair industry enters the story. Repairers may think these cases belong to Tesla, Silicon Valley, trial lawyers, and federal courts. They do not. Collision facilities touch the evidence. Set with that statement for just a moment. Yep, when we repair vehicles, disconnect a battery, or calibrate an ADAS system, we're interacting with potential evidence that our checklist, our photo documentation isn't going to testify to at a trial. A repaired vehicle may contain dozens of modules, cameras, and sensors. A shop may scan it, disconnect it, program it, replace some components, update software, calibrate a system, and clear some some trouble codes. Either one of those actions can matter later. That does not mean shops should stop repairing vehicles. It means the industry, specifically body shops, need a more mature understanding of what it really means when they bring ADAS in-house or contract with a third party. Do you have a process strong enough for court and a Russian hacker? Or do you have a tablet and some targets you were told would increase your cycle time and make you more profit? Because the case you may be dragged into doesn't have anything to do with your repair. It may start because you were the last person to digitally work with the vehicle's evidence, but it then can become about your repair. Insurers should also pay attention. Claims organizations increasingly rely on automated workflows and vendors. But the evidentiary importance of a vehicle and its data may require faster escalation and better preservation decisions. The first person touching this claim may not understand that a damaged module is more than salvage. It may be a black box and the witness to the case that decides whether we win or lose. We are watching the birth of the automotive software forensic specialist. In fact, lately, I've been overrun with attorney requests to retrieve data and then reconcile it to the facts for the civil and criminal cases. This profession will sit somewhere between accident reconstruction, cybersecurity, vehicle diagnostics, and courtroom testimony. These experts will not merely download a standard crash report. They will identify where data may exist, preserve hardware, authenticate files, reconstruct timelines, and explain what the software knew and did in the accident. They may work for manufacturers in one case and plaintiffs in another. They may help an insurer evaluate its exposure, help a defense attorney challenge an allegation, or help a family discover evidence nobody else knew how to retrieve. That is why the Russian hacker angle is such a powerful opening, but such an incomplete ending. Green is not important merely because he's a Russian or because a hacker makes a compelling headline. He is important because he represents the expert who can interrogate the machine. The old courtroom question was, which human witness should the jury believe? The emerging question is, which expert can prove what the vehicle recorded and whether the manufacturer, driver, insurer, or repairer interpreted that record honestly? Now, the other side of this discussion is, if the data is important as evidence in criminal and civil cases, shouldn't that data or access to that data be protected? Well, that's the argument of the OEMs as they square off against the repair industry with the right to repair legislation. Right to repair was built around the idea that consumers and independent shops should be able to obtain the information and tools necessary to fix their vehicle. But as vehicles become evidence generating networks of computers, we need to confront a much harder question. When access to repair also provides the ability to rewrite software, reset modules, clear histories, and alter potential evidence, should every level of access be treated the same? The answer cannot be to lock independent repairers out, but the answer also cannot be to hand unrestricted, untraceable control of safety systems and digital evidence to anyone who buys a tool from Amazon. Modern right to repair needs authentication, access levels, audit trails, and evidence preservation safeguards. Because the right to fix a vehicle should not quietly become the ability to erase what the vehicle knew. Now, I don't think this is the last hacker we're going to see in an automotive courtroom. I also do not think this is the last case in which supposedly missing data changes the outcome for a jury. And I do not think the collision industry is prepared for how often its repair records, scans, and modules may become evidence in a trial. The next great witness in automotive litigation may never take an oath. It may never sit in the witness chair. It may not have a voice at all. It may be a damaged computer sitting on a workbench holding a file that one side said no longer existed. What happens when every modern vehicle becomes its own eyewitness? And the only people who know how to question that witness are software experts. That is the story behind the Russian hacker who double crossed Tesla. But the larger story, well, that one's just beginning.